Hello, everyone. Welcome to On Deck with Mercury. My name is Mercury Payton. I'm the town manager here in Vienna. And tonight's topic on Deck with Mercury is Liberty Amendments Month, an event that celebrates the story of America, particularly the 13th, 14th, 15th, and 19th Amendments, which we call the Liberty Amendments. These amendments brought our nation closer to being that more perfect union that we've all aspired to see in our nation. And joining me here tonight at Patrick Henry Library here in the history section are Lily Widman. Hi, Lily. How are you?
I'm good. Hi, Mercury.
Good to see you. And Dr. Carolyn Kabir. How are you?
Fine, thank you. How are you?
I'm doing well. And I look forward to hearing you share your story, your inspiring story about American citizenship and all that goes with that. So it's going to be a very exciting conversation tonight. So thank you for coming this evening. Since the town initiated Liberty Amendments Month back in 2021, our community has come together to learn from one another and to celebrate our common bonds and to appreciate the diverse backgrounds represented by our residents. Lily, you've organized the events from the start with a big team, I know, but you've had your hands in it from the very beginning. So why do you think it's resonated so much with our community?
Well, Mercury, I'd say, as you know, it was formed at a time when our country was suffering quite a lot of unrest, between the murder of George Floyd and the COVID-19 pandemic. People felt very isolated and at odds with one another, and they were looking for any opportunity they could get to find common ground with the people they share their lives with in their communities. And Liberty Amendments Month offered that opportunity, and it was pretty remarkable how many people kind of came when we called for this opportunity. It started out simple as a small event that was supposed to be four events once a week for a month, and it quickly mushroomed into something that in its first year became 64 events because so many organizations and individuals in our community wanted to be a part of it and wanted to do something. So it's been pretty remarkable to be a part of that.
Sure, and out of the tragedy of those events of 2020, that summer, while many of those types of things happened in the past decades before and even prior, there was something about that moment, and that moment in time, we saw a lot of people feeling not right about what was going on, and there was something inside of all of us where we said, this is not who America should be or aspires to be, and that's where we look at these amendments, and they remind us that we all have due process, and we're all citizens and have rights. And so I think that's also one of the things that kind of, has brought Vienna together and our state together and our nation together to kind of remember. And we kind of have, Independence Day right in the middle of these amendment celebrations. So thank you for all that you've done. And we know it's been well received in the Commonwealth at the General Assembly to have it as a statewide observance. And there are even efforts now to make it a national observance. So I really appreciate all your hard work and all of that effort.
Sure, yeah. I think it really speaks to the event and the importance of the Liberty Amendments that our elected officials have recognized at the state level and at Fairfax County level, at the town level, that this should be an officially recognized holiday. Right. But also just the remarkable number of people who've been involved, and we have 100 people on the planning committee, 30 different nonprofits who are involved. I think that speaks to the importance of the event as well.
Right, absolutely. And I also mentioned too that even in that year when it was the 100-year anniversary of women getting the right to vote, it was overshadowed by so many things going on. We had a presidential election, the pandemic was going on, all stuff that was going on in the summer, and we didn't really hear much about women getting the right to vote. So I think including that, as one of the weeks that we reflect on, I think is really important for our society as well.
Yeah, agreed.
So one of our activities initiated last year was our American Liberty Stories, encouraging people to share their family story leading to citizenship. So we have here tonight Dr. Carolyn Kabir. You participated this year with an amazing story of your father's journey to the U.S. and his path to citizenship. So maybe tell us a little bit about that.
I'd be happy to. When he was born in Iran, in Tehran, and he always told us as a young child he dreamed of coming to America. It was a very early dream. And he loved music, and he was naturally talented at music, and he thought he'd be a musician. His father got wind of his dreams and said, no, you can't go. You need to stay here. And so he convinced my father to go to through high school in Tehran. And they had a test you had to take at the time. And my dad really wanted to come to America, so he said, I'm just going to fail it. But his pride took over, and he actually didn't fail it. He did very well, and at that time, in the 1950s, you were told what you were going to become, and he did very well, so he was going to become a doctor, or you could be an engineer, or you could be a dentist. So he went through a French-speaking high school, medical school curriculum, learned, Farsi, French, and English, and knew at the end of that he would come to America someday, and that's exactly what he did in 1958. He got on a ship, traveled to France, and crossed the ocean with his best friend, who was also a physician, because in that time period, the United States wanted more physicians. They didn't have enough, and so they were trying to attract people from foreign countries. So he got his chance. He got on the SS America ship. He came into Baltimore, and from there, landed in the DC area, and initially did some residency training at Howard University for 2 years. And it was in pathology. He didn't love it. Decided to do dermatology and went to University of Chicago. And when he got there, he met my mom, who was a nurse. And she was from a very small town in Iowa, the youngest of 6, and she wanted to get out of her small town. And she met this Persian doctor, and it was love at first sight, and they got married in 1965, and he wanted to return to Howard University, and so they came back to Maryland, where I was born. And then they moved to Vienna, and I grew up there. And he practiced. He left eventually the university setting and went into private practice. His passion was always music, though, and it never went away. His passion also, and it was Persian music. He could play by ear, the piano, the organ, the violin. And so we had a lot of Persian culture in our home. We had Persian parties. We had Persian food. We spoke the language. He would teach us French in the morning before we went to school. It was very different than the all-American upbringing, and it just was wonderful that he wanted to keep his culture alive, but at the same time was incredibly proud to be a United States citizen. And that path to citizenship for him was one that he really wanted, and he got it. And when he was interviewed by the immigration officer, he was asked historical questions, and he shined and did well, and they said, wow, you know more American history than many of our citizens do. And he just would refer that as a point of pride, you know. Right. And, it just, John F. Kennedy, the president, at the time that John F. Kennedy was president, he admired him. And he had a Persian carpet on the wall of John F. Kennedy, But it was like a combination, And I was named after his daughter Carolyn. So there were lots of, and he really, really admired the education system here and the freedoms here. And at that time, the government there was different. So the women had a lot more freedoms when he grew up in Iran than they do currently. So it just was nice to be raised in a home where I kind of had a more global mindset, and also a father who really wanted his 3 daughters to be independent and educated, and don't focus on boys, focus on studying, so that you can just be self-sufficient. And it was just, I'm grateful that he had that dream and that he came here. I thought, he must have been, when I put myself in his shoes, really, really brave to be 23 years old and get on a ship to go to a country he'd never seen.
Yeah, and to come here with a friend.
And to come with a friend who was also a physician. They remained friends. And so he passed in the year 2000. He's buried at National Memorial, and I go and I visit him, and I think about that dream and that courage. And I'm nowhere near 23. Would I have had the guts or the courage to have done what he did? And, so when Liberty Amendments Month came up and the opportunity to write about him, it just was so clear to me that I needed to share his story.
Sure, absolutely. And to speak 3 languages, I
know.
So Tell us a little bit about that. So did he teach you all as
Yeah,
well?
so he, in Iran at the time, French was one of the languages. It had previously been a diplomatic language, and so he learned that. He would walk to school reading the French dictionary. So he admits he was very studious, or he had notes all over his wall. And he was an only child, and his parents, it took 10 years to conceive him, and so they really showered all their attention on him. And when we were being raised, it was just, you need to know a language other than English, you need to play a sport, you need to play an instrument. Like, he just had these, and you need to have your education and go to higher education. He didn't say I had to be a doctor, but I ended up becoming one because I wanted to, and I kind of knew at a very young age too. My mom was a nurse. I knew I'd be a doctor or a nurse.
Right.
And so every morning before school, he had this little alarm. He'd ring the bell, and we'd have to come down literally and sit down and take French lessons. And we would kick and scream at the time, but neighbors found out, and they started to send their children to join us. It became more of a community thing. And,
that's so cool.
I ended up minoring it in college. I had my psychology and then French because he had taught us so much. So I'm just grateful for that. Again, more global mindset and
Now, you're a doctor as well.
Correct.
So did you both have an opportunity to talk shop at all?
We did, and there was a time in the 1970s when he went into private practice. He could sense that the medicine field was changing and it was going to become more socialized. And he would say, "Don't go into medicine, don't go into medicine." And I'd be like, "I'm going, I want to, definitely." And then he would say, "Don't do OBGYN, don't do OBGYN." And I did OBGYN because I loved it. I did end up switching over to pediatrics. I love it, and work with adolescents primarily and teenagers with mental health issues. But there's a lot of derm and peds, and he just could never understand why I didn't do dermatology, which is what he did. But there's so much dermatology in peds, and he was very proud of me. He just didn't pressure me. It was my own decision. If anything, he tried to talk me out of it. So.
And tell us about the musical piece too.
Yeah, that's a neat story. So growing up, his stepmother really encouraged him to take violin lessons and piano. And when he was 14, he was featured. He learned to play by ear, and he just had a natural proclivity for it. So they put him on the Radio Tehran, as they called it, and he played the violin as a 14-year-old. And when he came to the United States, that passion never went away. So the party, I feel like I grew up in the home of a musician, not a physician. It wasn't structured. It was once a month big parties and gatherings of Persians, because Washington, D.C. has a lot of Persians, and they would come and have the Persian food and the music, and they would do jam sessions with all the different instruments. But it was Persian music, but it was lively. And so he got to do it as a hobby, but I think that was a dream for him that didn't really come true, in that it probably was something he wanted to do professionally. And he did end up making strong friendships with professional Persian musicians like Haide Gugush, Rohani. These are famous Persian musicians that are still alive in Los Angeles, most of them. So, but he was a doctor, and he loved to serve. The thing is, being a doctor for him wasn't forced, really. He actually really enjoyed it, and he was good, and his patients loved him. And he had a little sign on his door that would say, "If you can't afford your care, I will provide you your service for free." And I remember that in the 70s. That was so unusual, and some other doctors in the building didn't like that sign was there. But I mean, it totally directed my focus on under-resourced communities personally. It just did, because I grew up with that mentality that you give back, and that you serve.
That's fantastic. I mean, just have that heart to serve others, and to know his own upbringing and how it's so important to be connected. It just kind of shines through. Yeah.
I mean, I miss him talking about it right now.
So this is an inspiring story, that just one of several that will be featured this coming Liberty Amendments Month this year. And of course, it all starts with Vienna's Juneteenth celebration this coming Saturday, June 15th, at First Baptist Church, to commemorate the 13th Amendment, which ended slavery in this country. Lily, what can we expect from the Juneteenth celebration this year?
Sure. So the Juneteenth celebration is this Saturday, June 15th. It'll be at First Baptist Church again. We have a Liberty Amendments Month kickoff ceremony at 12 p.m. I think you'll be one of our speakers for that ceremony.
Oh, I am?
I hope. Get your remarks ready. They're also partnering with the James H. Hayes Bull Run Elks Lodge, so there'll be a car show during the day.
Good.
Just down the street from the church at the Elks Lodge. There'll be an Earth, Wind, and Fire tribute band. They have 35 vendors, all different types of crafts and resources, voter registration, information like that. There's a ton of kids entertainment at this event, so it's lots of fun stuff for kids to do. And then they'll have a photo booth and then a kids book giveaway. So. And of course, there'll be lots of Liberty Amendments Month themed activities. So we'll have our Liberty Amendments learning tour out around the event, so people can learn interesting facts about each Liberty Amendment, history around it, the delegates that helped pass it, just kind of interesting stories and little tidbits that folks may not know.
Right.
And then we'll have Carolyn's story there. We'll have a panel that we're bringing to every single Liberty Amendments Month this year, where people can read the stories of everyone that's shared their family stories.
And each story is so different, and just kind of interweaving different culture and different experiences to have a common bond just centered around our Constitution and just the liberties that we have here. It's just really fantastic.
Yeah, I hope everyone gets a chance to read those, because it's fascinating to see how different they are. Everybody has a different story about how their family either came to America or have been here all along. We have stories from folks who are indigenous, folks whose families traveled here unwillingly. I mean, it's a really fascinating group of stories.
It is. And a couple of years ago, the town held a naturalization ceremony in partnership with the federal government, enabling foreign-born residents to take the oath of allegiance and become U.S. citizens. So we're doing that again, right?
We are doing that again. Yeah, we're very excited to bring that program back. So June 29th at the Community Center, we're going to work with USCIS to host another naturalization ceremony. We'll have live music starting at 3:30 p.m. The ceremony starts at 5 p.m. and 15 citizens are naturalizing from 15 different countries. So all the citizens who are coming will have taken the same test that your dad did.
That's incredible.
That is amazing.
And we always learn things from the different things that they learned and the questions they asked. It's really fascinating, it's a very moving event to get to be a part of. So definitely recommend folks come out if they'd like to see it.
And throughout the month, we have educational events that focus on specific history and race and culture as they relate to the 4 Liberty Amendments. Tell us a little about those that we have.
Sure. Yeah, we have 3 educational panels this year. One is going to be on Monday, June 17. That's the Idea to Law panel with Delegate Holly Siebold and a panel of folks from the community who have helped bring different things from idea to law at the Virginia State Legislature, much like you did with Liberty Amendments Month. So there'll be some really interesting stories, but it's a great way for people to learn how they can be involved with starting the legislative process or bringing ideas to Richmond lawmakers when things are in session. All the panels are at 6:30 p.m. at the Vienna Community Center. June 26th, we have a Liberty and the Press panel, which is a partnership with Patrick Henry Library in Fairfax County. Our hosts today. That's going to be a really fascinating one. That's basically a look at how Black newspapers have impacted American history. So it's gonna have, we're gonna have 2 historians, Dr. George O'Burl from George Mason University, and then Georgia Brown, who is a part of the historic records section of the Fairfax County Circuit Courts, are gonna provide a little bit of historical information. And then there's gonna be a discussion and a Q&A with 3 prominent Black journalists in the area. So we're going to have Ted Johnson from the Washington Post, Tamika Smith from WAMU, and Alexis Taylor from Afro News, who are all going to lead this discussion. And I think it's going to be so fascinating. I'm really excited for that one, just to hear the discussion. So that'll be a really interesting one. And then on July 10th, we have a mixer with the Vienna Business Association and an Empowering Women panel, which is going to feature 3 different women with very different backgrounds who are going to talk about their careers and kind of their stories and how they got to where they are, and then do a Q&A at the end. And we do a lot of fun story sharing at that event at the beginning. So we ask people to share their favorite female mentor or the woman that they're most proud of in their life, or their favorite quote by a woman that they admire. It can be like a best friend or a mom or a famous person. And then we kind of give away gift cards and read some of them at the end of the event. And it's like, I cried last year reading them. They're so good. So all 3 of those are really wonderful chances for folks to learn, but also to get to know members of their community and share stories and learn what they have in common with folks they may not know.
That's great. And this year's Independence Day celebration, which is right in the middle of the 4 amendments that we celebrate, is a little early, July 2nd.
Yes.
Mainly because of limited availability of licensed pyrotechnicians
Yes.
On the 4th. But we still have a special and appropriate event scheduled for the 4th, right?
We do, yes. This is our 2nd year doing this really special event. So on July 4th, we'll do a public reading of the foundational documents of American democracy. All are invited to join us. It starts at 11 a.m. at the community center, and we'll have some co-hosts and some leaders. Usually we have an actor who comes and performs a piece of it, so it's kind of interactive. But folks sit side by side, and they pass around a microphone, and they take turns reading different sections of some of the foundational documents, so including like Fairfax Resolves, the Declaration of Rights, the Emancipation Proclamation, of course the Liberty Amendments, a handful of other ones.
Sure.
It sounds like a lot of reading, but it actually only takes about an hour and a half sometimes. And it's people from all over the community of all ages. It's really fun just hearing the voices, like little kids reading it, and then just different voices coming together. So it's a very nice event.
That's fantastic. And the Multicultural Festival is a nice way to round out the month. So tell us what we can expect from that.
Sure. So this year we are holding the Multicultural Festival on Friday, July 12th at the Town Green. It'll be from 4 to 9 p.m. We incorporated it into our Summer on the Green concert series this year as a kind of new partnership, and we've got a lot of great performers. Rose Powhatan will be leading a land blessing and acknowledgement and doing storytelling. Juan Pen Bunma, who's a Vienna resident, many folks know, is going to be doing a Thai fruit and vegetable carving demonstration. Just super cool. We've got a lot of new things this year. We're going to have the Choi One traditional dance troupe come and do a lion dance, which I think is going to be so cool. I've never seen anything like that in person, so I'm excited about that. And then we also have Sheikh Hamala Diabate, who is a Malian griot, and he has kind of like an Afro-funk band. They play, it's a mix of like traditional Malian griot music along with like funk rock and roll. So it's like fun to dance to.
Sure.
That'll be a fun way to lead it off. And then of course there's lots of kids activities, food trucks, just fun for the whole family on a Friday night.
Well, that's fantastic. And we'll also have like stories like Dr. Kabir's that's been shared about her father's journey, and others like that. Is that we're going to have that as well? Yes.
So we'll have the stories on a panel at every event. But if folks want to really get a chance to come and read them in more of a museum style setting, we're displaying all of the stories at the Freeman Store and Museum. And then we're also displaying all the stories at the Vienna Community Center. And then we have about 20 or 22 local businesses that are also displaying some or all of the stories. Wow. So if folks go to viennava.gov/story, they can see a list of all the businesses that are participating there. And then we'll also post all the stories on the website there as well, so folks can read the stories there. But I think lots of folks will get to see them just by visiting the community center or other local businesses.
Sure. Well, thanks a lot. And is there anything else that that you want to share? Maybe Dr. Kabir, anything else that you want? You had just such a fascinating story with the musical intersection with with the language and also with going to Howard University, where your father experienced, Black culture there at a historically Black college and university. I mean, there's so many different ways that culture just kind of came together.
It is, and that's what I was going to touch upon.
Yeah.
First being, there are various reasons people come to the United States. In his case, it was by choice, and he felt fortunate. And I feel fortunate because being the daughter of an immigrant, I was raised not taking America for granted.
Yeah.
That's, and just his perspective was, look at this, you can do this, and we have this,
Right.
and you have freedoms and education. So I feel like, it might be natural tendency for some people to take these freedoms for granted, but I didn't, and we didn't in our household, because my dad was always so excited to talk about his journey. And then regarding Howard University, it wasn't until I was an adult or young teen that I realized it was a college that served African Americans, because my father didn't ever speak of the color of a person's skin.
Yeah.
He only spoke about the content of their character.
Yeah.
And I would not bring boys home, because he would tell me that when I look in their eyes, I will tell you about their character in 2 minutes. So it was always about the I know. So I studied. And so it was just, we weren't raised to talk about different cultures based on the color of their skin.
Yeah.
Or other differences. It was actually more what we had in common. We all have dreams, we all have families, we all want the best for our children, and we want them to be educated. He spoke of his mentors at Howard University in terms of the way they taught him and inspired him. He never, ever mentioned that they were African American, because it just wasn't how he was raised.
Sure.
And I feel very grateful for that, because I've just taken that into my practice with patients. I just, it's like he had a big heart, and he just saw the heart of the person. So I'm grateful for that.
And that's fantastic. And to be able to come from a different culture and then experience Black culture, and then not only that, but then everywhere he went in our nation, probably he experienced a different culture, and then he could share his culture
With his
share
patients.
his music or love of food, or I mean, there was just so much that's rich there that just kind of ties us all together.
There is, and he did have a little digital organ in his office, and sometimes the patients would hear him do a little Persian music concert while they were waiting patiently.
So cool.
He just had to have a little break, and so he brought it with him. He was proud of it, but he was also proud of America too.
That's fantastic.
I feel grateful that he integrated it so well.
Well, we're grateful for you.
Thank
and
you.
And is there anything else that you'd like to share?
The only thing I'll add is, first, thank you so much for coming and sharing your story, Carolyn. We are looking for other stories. So if you all know of folks, or if any of the folks listening today want to share their stories of their family coming to this country, or what it means to be American, we leave our submission form up all year long. It's viennava.gov/story. So we invite anyone who is interested to submit at any time. So that's the only thing I'd mention about that. And then I think also it's good to revisit the Liberty Amendments Month calendar one more time. Yep. So all of the information about all the programs that we talked about today is available at viennava.gov/liberty. So we hope folks will go there and check out all that information.
Okay, well, thank you. Thank you for tuning in to On Deck with Mercury. We hope everyone enjoys Liberty Amendments Month in the next 4 weeks of all the festivities and events. We hope everyone enjoys the summer with family and friends. We also like to thank Patrick Henry Library for allowing us to use this space here to share all the wonderful things about Liberty Amendments Month. Thanks a lot, and take care.